Hey, I'm Gus.
And I'm Henry.
And we're here to talk about Skibidi Toilet, the brand new internet series that is taking the entire world by storm.
And if you're not already a toilet head like Gus and I don't know what the fans are called, we implore you to stick around and listen to the whole video, because what you may write off as a completely bizarro Gen Z meme is actually, to Gus and I's mind, not only a fascinating piece of new media storytelling, but also the latest fascinating example in a kind of new genre we've noticed forming.
Yes, but before we get to that, I have to push back on the fact that you said that toilet heads are what we should identify as. No. We are part of the great cameraman, TV head, and speaker head army that is rising up against the menace that is the Skibidi Toilets. We will not rest until there is victory. Thumbs up to all.
YouTube is a fascinating place. It's not actually as small a neighborhood as I think most people would imagine. Things can become obscenely popular, but still be, completely out of the view of other audiences and, pockets of people around the website. We personally only found out about this because of Big Money Eric on Internet Comment Etiquette, and it has since changed our lives. Gus, would you like to give, just in a few words, a little summary of what Skibidi Toilet is?
So, Skibidi Toilet begins in its first installment as a sort of meme post video where it takes that Skibidi song that's been in a number of different memes, including the Wednesday Adam meme, the guy who's
kebab man
bumping his belly, and takes that and applies it to a really funny jank Gmod animation of a man's head coming out of a toilet. But then lore kicks in, and it kicks in fast. From there, you get an escalating sci-fi arms race as these toilets start to overwhelm society, taking an almost religious importance and certainly military supremacy within the world of the story. They are opposed at every turn by a variety of appliance-headed humanoids whose theme song appears to "Everybody Wants to Rule the World."
Yeah, no, there's a fascinating mix here, because there are the cameramen, the first ones, and then the speaker heads who show up, who have the "Everybody Wants to Rule the World," and then there is the almost cosmically powerful TV heads who show up, and when they do their special move, it's the THX logo noise.
Powers and, the technology at play in Skibidi Toilet, for as, silly as this is on the face of it, are actually really creatively done, and they're applied in such a consistent way. This isn't, just randomness. There is a method to the madness in a very real way that Henry and I, as two guys who love storytelling, really dig.
Yeah, no, completely. This is honestly a masterclass in how you can tell what genuinely feels like a kind of expansive, complex story without even the use of, a single line of dialogue. In a world of movies where it feels, genuinely impressive when a director can, keep their films to, an hour and 40 minutes, each installment of this, I believe the longest one, is, a minute and a half to 2 minutes maximum long. Most of them are around 10 to 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's incredible minimalist storytelling. And Henry, I've been saying this for a while, and I'm sure you've heard me say this, that TikTok and sites like it are going to be the spawning pit for some of the greatest filmmakers that we've never seen yet. They are going to grow up and be savants at camera work and at timing and pacing and soundtrack, all because this free application pitted them against each other in a safe environment where a trend comes along and 100 people do it. And among those 100 people, there is the one who perfected the art form. But then it's something new next week. And Skibidi Toilet follows that sort of frame of reference by being something that could only have come from almost a decade worth of internet content through the lens of modern TikTok experimental filmmaking.
You're completely right. I think this does exist in that same kind of, despite the fact that this technically comes later because the first of the Skibidi Toilets were 5 months ago, it exists in the exact same kind of filmic tradition as the, terrifying doppelganger trend and the recent, delightfully messed up grimace shake trend.
I think it brings in people from a wider base than just the TikTok users, because I don't know about you, man, but seeing like those Gmod characters again and like those faces acting all jank, it reminded me of some like really good times I had back in the day watching like early machinima.
It has that kind of nostalgia, like for people like us who are a little bit older on the internet, like elder Gen Zs and like early millennials. One of the most obvious things that no one has pointed out as far as I've seen, because a lot of people have asked the question of like, how is this so popular? And obviously there are the like surface level answers like, it's fun, it's enjoyable to watch, it's not much of a time commitment. All of the 50 currently released episodes only add up to about like 20-21 minutes of material. But do you know what I think is something that people are missing in all of this, Gus? No language barrier.
Yeah! Essentially, this can be enjoyed everywhere because the Skibidi song...
It's just scatting. And that's kind of beautiful, isn't it? Just this idea that, like, yeah, of course it's so big because it touches on just such universal forms of entertainment. We have the diabolical, like, ever-evolving, like, inhuman and frightening Skibidi toilets, and the underdogs fighting back against them. This narrative has existed all the way back to, like, H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, and communicated the way it is through action, through kind of, like, mime, almost. It's resulted in something that has likely tapped into global audiences in a way that a lot of, like, mainstream, old-school studio media, like, wishes that it could.
All that being said, Henry, I think we should get into the genre stuff.
A particular subgenre that we've taken to kind of calling the weird apocalypse.
Yes, where essentially it's like a zombie apocalypse where there is a horde of things that is upsetting the natural order of civilization, but they're very unconventional creatures. Monsters with their own bizarre logic, rules, mannerisms. The Skibidi Toilets fit into all of these categories the same way that the Titans of Attack on Titan do, the Hanging Balloons of Junji Ito's work does, the Kaiju of Pacific Rim, the Alternates from Mandela Catalog.
The indestructible sound-detecting aliens from A Quiet Place, The Phenomenon, in the really fantastic audio drama The Phenomenon, which I would really urge you to check out if you want a, like, wonderfully well-written and acted kind of speculative weird apocalypse entry. I think it is this primal appeal that the zombie genre touched on, but I think was best elucidated by the author of Attack on Titan, who obviously, you know, Gus and I don't fully agree with politically, but he did say during an interview about the kind of inspiration behind Attack on Titan as a series. The vibe came to him when he was working at like an internet cafe and a customer had gotten drunk and started to get belligerent and started grabbing him by the collar, and he said this situation made him aware of the inherent fear of being attacked by something you can't communicate with, which not only perfectly sums up Attack on Titan and Skibidi Toilet, but I think really cuts to the heart of what makes like the zombie genre, but also the weird apocalypse genre work.
Yeah, because in every way that these creatures are hostile and dangerous, they are also fundamentally different from us, from all people.
It's true, and fascinatingly, the elements of the genre that does it best, which is present in Skibidi Toilet and the other two things we put in the thumbnail, is if you want something really, really disturbing, the best way to make that happen is to have whatever is the vector of your weird apocalypse story be something that is a little bit human, but is like deep in that uncanny valley. Like, Skibidi Toilet would not be nearly as striking if it was just weaponized toilets. It's the often, like, huge and, like, warped human heads that come out of them. In the same way, the Titans look like big, freaky, naked humans, and the hanging balloons, like, have the faces of whoever their victim is meant to be. It's that uncanny, this idea of something that is almost human, but cannot be reasoned with, is terrifying. And I think the same can be said for zombies, too.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like what is a specific odd edge about the Skibidi toilets themselves is that you get this like song stuck in your head over and over again, and it has a number of permutations throughout the series, but like it ends up almost becoming this like mantra of the invasion.
Yeah, and it shows that there is like a, Blue Gray, I believe, is the YouTube-friendly name of the creator.
Yes, yeah,
Yes.
Blue Gray, the animator.
Yes. Again, despite the silliness, there is a great understanding of filmic principles, not just in the visuals, but in the audio, because the number of permutations of the Skibidi song throughout, like, something that I've noticed is, as the series goes on, the kind of full, like, playing out of the, I don't know, beginning chorus of Skibidi becomes less frequent, and as we're seeing these more like warped, weaponized, like frantic Skibidi toilets, more often the chant just becomes them like repeating Skibidi, 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 Skibidi.
Yeah.
In a kind of like broken record fashion.
Yeah, because once you get deeper into the battle, what both sides are using to fight the other, and how certain weapons become outmoded and replaced with newer, deadlier, more visceral ones, you end up in this state where you almost forget that this was all kind of an elaborate shitpost, and you start to just laugh while you are genuinely invested.
It is this wonderful example of the joy that you can have as an audience member when you're willing to meet a thing on its own terms. This kind of links to another thing that Gus and I were discussing off mic that you can also go and check out on our Patreon for $1 a month, no big deal. It's a little movie called Killer Bean Forever, created by Jeff Liu, and we can't describe Killer Bean Forever as this fascinatingly bizarre parody of, like, action movies where every character in it is a CGI coffee bean. And that really disarms you in its silliness. It looks a bit like a kind of incredibly elaborate bowling alley animation. But you become shocked with how invested you are with the genuine, like, skill and effort Jeff Liu has put into all of these action sequences, and you end up taking it as a sincere action movie in a very similar way that, despite being on the surface of it, the Skibidi toilets are much sillier than the Titans, the hanging balloons, the kaijus, whatever else. You get so invested in the fact that a lot of these videos are either great little pieces of apocalyptic horror or these really interestingly orchestrated, like, fight sequences or like urban guerrilla engagements. You simply forget what you're looking at and you're along for the ride. And I think in both the case of this and Killer Bean, both of them stand to show the inherent appeal of the genre is always in execution and not content.
Exactly. And what's great is that the series isn't even over yet. Blue Gray is going to be working on this for a while and iterating on this, and all of the success that happens to come Blue Gray's way is fantastic, because ultimately this is something that could have been anything. It could have been funny, random nonsense, but it chose to be a weird apocalypse story with enough knowledge of pacing and tone and filmic techniques. It becomes unironically a story that many people all over the world can share as a thing they want to follow.
I couldn't agree more, man. And if this video has persuaded you to check out Skibidi Toilet, or if you're already a fan and want to see us cover more of it as it develops, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, like the video. Please let us know in the comments if you are hashtag Team Toilet or hashtag Team Object Head.
Please go ahead and follow us. We're trying to make our way to 100,000 subscribers, and we're super, super close.
You can get us there, and we'll love you forever.
And also, if you're on Team Toilet Head, we are enemies. Long live the cameras! Thumbs up for all!
Viva la revolution!